What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Taking Command with Josh Taylor here on the YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone who's been supporting. As always, subscribe and like if you enjoy what you see, and flood those comments with all of your draft questions and comments, who we should draft, what you think of my mock draft. But this video, I'm going to be going through my official final mock draft of the season. This is just a collaboration of what I hope happens, what I think will happen based off of what I've seen and heard and kind of been paying attention to this whole offseason, from the end of the season to the Senior Bowl to the Combine to the visits and everything going on. Just kind of what I think will happen, but also what I really do hope will happen. But then just things to keep in mind with players and positions that have ties to Washington. So, like I said, if you like what you see, subscribe and like the video and let me know what y'all think about the picks. So, for this episode, obviously, if y'all caught me on the Bleacher Report show, which I appreciate everyone that tuned in, by the way. The live show was a blast. Hands down the biggest thing I've done. It was a crazy opportunity, so I appreciate everyone who tuned in. You saw me go through a live PFF mock draft simulator, which is hard because you never really know what to expect. There's a couple different things. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. I think it went really well. With this mock draft, I did the same thing, went through a simulator. I feel really good about this one. This one's actually my favorite mock draft that I did, and I think it's realistic on a lot of levels. So I'm going to go through each pick and kind of talk you through it, more some than others, but we'll see. But if you have any questions about any of these guys, whether it's fit, schemes, techniques, anything, like I said, let me know in the comments, and I will get back to you on that for sure. So to start out the draft, what I did is Washington did this last year with trading back and landing some extra picks, but then also getting Jahan Dotson, who looks like he's going to be a future All-Pro. Love Jahan Dotson. You see the signed helmet over here. You see the flag. Big-time Jahan Dotson fan. He's going to be an excellent wide receiver for Washington for a lot of years, teamed up with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. Sam Howell's going to love it. And, of course, getting Sam Howell in those Hall of Picks seems like it could turn out to be a very good trade back. I think Washington will do the same thing this year. They definitely want to, and they've made it known many of times with Ron Rivera talking about it. Same with Mayhew in their press conferences, really talking about, yeah, I think we're in a good position where we can trade back and get some other picks and then just get the best players really available on the board. So what I did is I got offered to trade with the Seattle Seahawks. They wanted pick 16. So we traded back to pick 20. And this is what we picked up going back 4 spots. We got a 3rd round pick, which is the 83 overall pick this year. A 4th rounder, which was the 123rd pick this year. And then also a 5th rounder, which was pick 151. So I go back 4 spots. I land a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th. Pick 83, pick 123, and 151. And I feel really good about this because at this spot here at 20, a guy that I'm really high on, someone that I tweeted out back in, I want to say it was late November, early December, just watching through all 22 film, I came across the Tennessee and Alabama game. And I said, this guy, Darnell Wright, he's going to be a top 20 pick by the time the draft comes. And sure enough, here he is. I said, you need to watch out for this guy. He dominated that game. So I got to talk to him a good bit at the Senior Bowl as well. And of course, our coaching staff worked with the offensive line, the running backs at the Senior Bowl, the defensive line, just a lot of positions at the Senior Bowl. So we got a lot of exposure to some of these players. But like I said, with pick 20, I'm drafting Darnell Wright, the tackle out of Tennessee. He's played left tackle and right tackle. You can see there on the left side, snaps by alignment. At right tackle, he got 892 snaps. And then back in 2021, he had 920 reps at left tackle. So he's played both sides. And really just comparing the two, I think he did have a big jump in 2022. You can see how the grade went up. I think he is a more fluid, natural player at the right side, whether it's tackle. And people have even said, a lot of media members in the draft community, a lot of evaluators said, look, you can move this guy into right guard if you have to. You see the top things that stands out to me, something that we're dying for, an 80.2. You see that green there, really good pass blocking grade from PFF, a 79.7 true pass set pass blocking grade. And like I said, go back and watch that Alabama-Tennessee game where he really just shut down Will Anderson. And I love Will Anderson. I think he's the best pass rusher that has been in the draft in the last 10 years. I think he is just going to be a monster at the next level. But Darnell Wright shut him down. They had to move Will Anderson over to the other side. So I really like what Darnell Wright can bring to the table. Only allowed 6 hurries, no sacks last season. And the season before that, he only allowed 3 on the left side. So this is how I'm really thinking about it. With our offensive line, Darnell Wright can play right guard or right tackle. So can Wiley. So I don't know which way you can put it. For me, I kind of really want to see Wiley at right guard because he's played in the pros at that next level at the right guard. He's also played right tackle. But I think Darnell Wright starting as that right tackle right away would be excellent with Wiley on the inside. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, how the contract really doesn't scream, premier tackle for Wiley. It says, he could play guard, even though they told him, according to Kime, that he would play right tackle if he came here. I think he's willing to move around. That's Eric Bieniemy's guy. They know each other. He knows what he's getting out of Wiley. So you have some things you can do there on their right side. You can interchange Wiley and Wright at right guard and right tackle. So we get a premier tackle of the future. Super stoked. I love Darnell Wright. He's one of my favorites of this draft. Super high on my board. He met with Washington. He had a top 30 visit with them. And like I said, they coached him up at the Senior Bowl, so they know what they're getting with Darnell Wright. And with this next pick 47, which we already had, I am drafting the tight end out of Iowa. That it's been a huge need. And a lot of people don't think so, but I think tight end is a giant need for this team. I'm getting Sam LaPorta, one of the best tight ends in the draft. No, he might not be the complete tight end like Michael Mayer maybe, but for me, I love what Sam LaPorta brings to the table. When I go back and watch the tapes, I'm a big LaPorta supporter. LaPorta supporter. I'm going to trademark that. If we draft him, I'm going to get a shirt that says LaPorta supporter. But you have to think about Eric Bieniemy coming over from Kansas City. He loves his tight ends. He's had Kelsey for so long. He knows how reliable he was. And having a guy like that, not only for a young quarterback, but for an offensive coordinator, Logan Thomas doesn't look the same. He's going to be getting paid way too much next year. Cole Turner got banged up a lot last year, still super young, more of just a straight receiving threat. Cool. John Bates, never really been high on him. He had some good flashes last year. Okay at blocking, kind of got blown up a couple times. But still, we do not have that legit tight end one on this team. And Eric Bieniemy is going to want that guy. There's no way he's looking at this tight end room and saying, you know what, I feel good about this. Sam Howell, let's ride with these guys. No. He says, look, get me a Sam LaPorta who had a receiving grade of 85.3, by the way. He forced 20 missed tackles at Iowa, which was a really bad offense, by the way. 20 broken tackles on 58 catches in 2022 is the 5th most in the last 9 years. He is a straight up yak machine. He is Eric Bieniemy's kind of tight end when it comes to running seam routes, overs, crossers, flat routes, you name it. And he ran a 4.59 40-yard dash. This is a tight end one caliber guy. And like I said, that offense was one of the worst in the country at Iowa. But you put the ball in his hands and he made people miss. He made something out of nothing on a consistent basis. So I want to see what a guy like that can do with an offensive guy like Eric Bieniemy. I think it would be a home run pick. Now this next guy is a guy that came on to kind of late. He met with Washington super late. And that is pick 83, which is a pick that we got from the Seahawks in the 3rd round. And that is Jartavius, a.k.a. Quan Martin, out of Illinois. No, it's not Devin Witherspoon. It is another big-time DB. Illinois just had the most stacked secondary last year. You think about with Witherspoon and Martin and Brown. There was just great DBs all over the field. He's 5'11", 195 pounds. He is one of the best slot corners / big safeties who can be up front there in the entire draft. So for me, I got Brian Branch, number 1, who I think is going to be a future All-Pro. I would not mind him at 16, by the way. And then I have Jartavius Martin right there behind him. I think he's that good. He ran a 4.46 40. He has a 44-inch vertical, which was first among his class. He had an 11-foot 1-inch broad jump and had a 9.28 relative athletic score. He had a 91 PFF grade run defense last year. 91. He has a knack for the ball, not only in coverage. You see that 15 forced incompletions, which is tied for 14th in the entire country, but he also has a nose for stopping the run. He doesn't miss tackles. He only had 4 missed tackles all of last season. You see there on the snap alignment in 2022, he had 493 snaps in the slot. He played 75 at corner, 44 in the box, but he also played 177 as a deep safety. So he can rotate. We have a really good safety room. But for me, like seeing what he could do in the slot, filling in, whether it's Ben St-Juste on the outside, or maybe I get another corner later on in this draft, you'll have to find out. But you have Fuller, you have St-Juste, you have Martin in the middle, and he's a ball hawk. Let me tell you guys, he had 7 career interceptions, and like I said, 15 forced incompletions last year. That's crazy. Big time guy, love him to death, has the ball skills. We need that. We saw more of that last year. It was really good to see. Forrest got some key interceptions. We need more of that. Fuller had some big interceptions as well. And like I said, he had a really late top 30 visit with Washington. So Washington brought him in. This is the kind of guy who fits the scheme really, really well. This isn't another safety guy. So don't think that Percy Butler or Forrest or Cam Curl is going to stop you from drafting a guy like this. It's a completely different thing. So think of Bobby McCain just times 10 better with a nickel slot corner or a big safety that plays up when Washington does, big dime. So big nickel, big dime packages. This is your guy that doesn't have to come off the field. Jartavius Martin is the guy. Now, this next one, pick 97, which is the 3rd round pick we already had. So you got to think about it. We traded back, got Darnell Wright with pick 20. But because of that 83rd pick, I got Jartavius Martin, who I think is going to be a big-time player for Washington. And then that allows us to have this 3rd-round pick to get a luxury guy. Some people say it's a need. Some people say it isn't. A lot of people were mad at me when I didn't draft an edge, but I did this time. And I'm getting one of the most underrated edge players in the entire draft, and that is Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri, who had an 81.2 overall PFF grade last year. Look at all those blue dots. Holy smokes. 82 pass rushing grade, 74.3 run defense grade, 84.7 true pass set pass rushing grade, a 17.6 pass rush win rate, 9.8 run stop rate. These are all dark blue dots. This is top percentile numbers for this edge class. You talk about the future of, Chase Young. Are we going to pick up that 5th year? Are we going to pay him? Are we going to pay Montez Sweat? You don't know. Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri, you watch the film, his flexibility, his get off, it is outstanding. I don't think this guy's getting enough recognition at 6'4", 268 pounds, only 21 years old. He is a strong edge rusher that had 7 sacks and 21 hurries in 2022. And like I said, just blew the PFF numbers off the charts. He has excellent technique to attack tackles and tight ends to get to the quarterback. I'm telling you, just pop on some Isaiah McGuire tape. Missouri is never really too much to watch, but a guy like this, I love his bend and his power, how he can get up under blocks. There was the game against Georgia, against Broderick Jones, who's one of the best tackles in college football. He looked really good. I want to say that was 2 years ago he had him. Then you see he had Darnell Wright. Just playing in the SEC against Auburn, against Kansas State, another team that was, high in the bowl games last year. So he saw some top competition, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, the gauntlet of the SEC, and he just massively produced. 7 sacks, 21 hurries. Good gosh. The year before that, 6 sacks, 23 hurries. We need that production. And this is a guy who can rotate in, need be. Like I said, it's a luxury pick. We got an extra 3rd trading back, so we got a corner that we needed. And it allows you to get a guy like this who has a huge upside. Like I said, only 21 years old. The sky is the limit for Isaiah McGuire. This week, I've started to see some more smoke, some more, I'll just say recognition of Isaiah McGuire on Twitter, on mock drafts, just saying like he might not be there at 97. This is a good edge class. I actually like the top 4 or 5 edge guys. I think McGuire cracks that top 5 for me. So keep him on your radar. I think Washington is in the market for an edge. They know that they can't rely on Chase Young to just be the future, just pay him because he's Chase Young, because you draft him as high as you did. And same with Sweat. I think Sweat gets drafted. So if you have Sweat and Isaiah McGuire as the future, I'm fine with that. And then next up, with pick 118 in the 4th round, I'm drafting a linebacker. And this is one of my favorite linebackers in the class. Excellent guy, super smart, and just just radiates a lead, being a just straight up leader at Tulane. I talked to him a bunch at the Senior Bowl. He's a guy that flashes not only on tapes, but I was watching the practice at the Senior Bowl. He was everywhere on every single play. He would read and react, and he was never wrong. And that is my guy, Dorian Williams, linebacker, like I said, out of Tulane, who had a magical season, upsetting USC the way they did. Only lost 2 games last year. But Dorian Williams, at 83.3 PFF grade. You see there where he lined up mainly in the box, but his coverage grade. This is the kind of linebacker Washington needs. I don't know about Cody Barton. I don't know about these depth guys that we have as that guy that can start next to Jamin Davis and be comfortable in these 2 linebacker sets. But you put Dorian Williams out on the field. He starts day 1. There's not a doubt about it. And for me, I feel really good about what he can do for you. You see an 87 PFF coverage grade, only an 8.3 missed tackle rate. The guy is reliable and he can get to the quarterback, has a 76 pass rushing grade as that linebacker. I'm telling you, this is what you need. A 6'8" wingspan and ran a 4.4 940. Dorian Williams is another linebacker of the future. You put Dorian next to Jamin, you have a really good linebacker room. I don't care about the value of the position, saying the linebackers don't matter. Tell San Francisco that. You want your D-line to be at its best. You want your secondary to be at its best. Put a reliable coverage linebacker room that can, cover these athletic tight ends or some of these slot wide receivers that are getting open in the middle, even some of these running backs. You have to have those guys, because you go back to last year of Cole Holcomb missing tackles. Jamin struggled a little bit too. I think he was much better last year, but you have Cole Holcomb and Mayo out there. Then we had to put Bostic out there. Cleek Hudson looked good against the Cowboys, but still it just wasn't good enough. These big plays, especially against the Lions, you watch all those runs and just the boneheaded mistakes. A lot of them were because of that linebacker core. So add Dorian Williams. You have the linebacker of the future at 6'1", 228. Still only 21 years old too, but he's already a leader. He is a natural born leader. And this just radiates the kind of personality Washington is always drawn to, especially with Ron Rivera. Now, this next pick is really juicy for a couple reasons. We are at round 4, pick 123, which is another one of the picks that we got from the Seahawks. And this one has a lot of upside. This is more of a future pick for me. And this is a corner, Eli Ricks out of Alabama. Y'all know I'm an Alabama fan. But Eli Ricks, when he came over from LSU to Alabama, he was considered a future first-round pick, a top 3 corner of the class. If you go back, look at it, I mean, this could be like the Sam Howell of the draft this year, where he's available here in the 4th round at pick 123. He's 6'2", 190, so he's a little bit of a smaller frame. I want his frame to be a little bigger. But I want y'all to look in that right side there where he played at Mississippi State. And it took him a while to get on the field. Don't really know what was going on. We know he was banged up. He had some injuries. But it seemed like Nick Saban, in that loaded corner room that he had last year, it seemed like Eli Ricks took a little bit to get used to the defense, from what I heard. Just kind of, wasn't as disciplined as you'd want him to be. So it kind of took a little bit for him to get used to that scheme on that defense with Pete Golden last year. But I think the upside with Eli Ricks, a guy who at one point, not even a year or 2 ago, had a first-round grade, a high first-round grade on him, now could be available somewhere around this line, whether it's a depth at corner or he could be a future starter because he is that talented. For me, Eli Ricks is definitely worth a swing here in the 4th round. You go watch that Mississippi State game, lock them down. I remember watching that game. I remember tweeting out videos saying this is teach tape. Eli Ricks was phenomenal. 83.1 grade that game. Like, that is the potential that you can get with Eli Ricks of being a possible corner of the future. So I feel good about it. A guy that had a high grade, he could possibly be a starter in the future. You take a swing on that because you traded back, you get some extra picks. It allows you to say, you know what, this guy could be the Sam Howell, just the corner version in this year's draft. Really like Ricks. just took a little bit. Not sure why he didn't play at first with the season. Like I said, with Allen, like he transferred in, people were like, whoa, holy smokes, this is one of the top transfers in the country. That was a huge get for Alabama, but it just took them a little bit to get on the field and get used to that defense. So next pick, we're going running back in this draft. Washington has said many times, they've, hinted at it saying, yeah, we're open. Maybe Antonio Gibson moves to that running back 3 kind of role like he was a little bit towards the end of last year. They just didn't really have a second running back to fill in. So B-Rob got a majority of the carries. So this is a guy that I think bodes really well with a 2 running back room. If you think about B-Rob as a true running back, and then this guy as a true running back, not like that running back 3 with what I think Gibson will be, but I'm going with Keaton Mitchell out of ECU for a couple reasons. One, because he's just flat out good. Second, I take a look at what Washington has and what they really need, but then also taking a look at what Eric Bieniemy had in Kansas City with a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, who was a late round running back, was phenomenal. A lot of production for Kansas City at the end of the season, especially in the playoffs, the Super Bowl. Isaiah Pacheco was a steal out of Rutgers. I loved Pacheco coming out. Now we have Keaton Mitchell, who might be a smaller guy. He's 5'8", 180 pounds, only 21 years old. But he provides that speed, that burst, that home run ability that Washington flat out doesn't have in the running back room. We've seen Gibson have some big plays, but think about it. When was it? It was the screen against Buffalo. It was the times when Antonio Gibson was out in space. He wasn't behind the line. He was out in space and able to make these big plays, which is why I think he'll get more of those reps. But we need a guy who's going to line up behind the offensive line, follow his blocks, and see where he needs to go and create these big home run plays from where he's at. I think Keaton Mitchell is fantastic for this offense and what EB wants to do. Take a look at the carries of over 15 yards last season. He had the most in the country with 31 last year. Had a 93.9 rushing grade, a 93.4 zone grade, which Washington does a lot of, an 81.2 gap grade for Keaton Mitchell. 75 missed tackles forced, and he had 162 zone attempts, which Washington does a lot of. So I think this is a really good fit. I think it provides that burst that Washington doesn't have, and saying we can run the ball on this play. We can give it to Sam Howell. He can throw it. He can run it. But Keaton Mitchell is capable of taking one to the house, and you have no idea. Great contact balance. He bumps off of guys, and it's really surprising for his size, too. Like I said, 5'8", 180. How he just kind of maintains his balance, bounces off guys, but he still has that speed. I really like what he does. He needs to get a little bit better with his lane discipline, kind of that first initial cut. Like every play wants to be a home run play, and I'm cool with that. But maybe at the next level, you won't be able to do that. And then on this next pick here, round 5, pick 151, I'm taking a guard who is getting – first off, a lot of people are saying he's probably one of the most underrated guards in the draft. I'm taking him at 151. I'm not waiting for a 193, which is the next pick after this, because I don't think he'll be there. I think 151 might be a reach, but I don't think it is at all. I think 151 suits this guy well, and he can flat out say, yeah, I'm deserving of that pick. That is Antonio Mafi out of UCLA. 83.2 grade last year, 88.3 run blocking grade, 84.5 zone grade. Another guy who is super young at the position. He's raw, has a lot of upside. I think the best of Mafi is yet to come. There's a few things to tweak, but when you look at his strength, his anchor at that left guard position, I think he can literally come in and start for Washington next year and be a huge contributor. I think he's going to be really good at the next level. Obviously, Zach Charbonnet, one of the best running backs in the draft, loved running behind this guy for a reason, and you see why on that PFF grade there. 910 offensive snaps last year, really well split between run blocking snaps and pass blocking snaps, almost 50-50. Only 3 sacks last season, 13 hurries. So he needs to get a little bit better at the pass blocking grade, his footwork a little bit. But when you look at what, the upside of Antonio Mafi and what he really did, he has that raw, natural ability, that talent with the pure strength, the lower body strength that you really want to see in these guards, where he can just move people. He has really good change of direction, so he can stop suddenly and still maintain his anchor and just hold guys up. I really like Mafi. I think this could be the steal of the entire draft for me. I'm drafting him in a heartbeat if he's there at 151. And people are like, oh, we want Steve Avila. I'm really high on Steve Avila. I'm really high on Chandler Zavala out of NC State. But if you can't get them in the first few rounds, and it didn't fall to me, and that's okay. You get a guy like Mafi here in the 5th round. I think you're looking back saying that's the steal of the draft for us. Antonio Mafi out of UCLA. And you might see another UCLA guy here at the end of my draft. Round 6, pick 193. I'm staying on the O-line. I think the center position is a big wild card. There's a lot of guys that can play center. Obviously, is really going to be healthy. He's only played 10 games the last 2 seasons. We got Larson back. Nick Gates played center a lot for the Giants. We signed him. Maybe he can be guard, whether he starts or he's a backup, rotates in, whatever. So you have a couple pieces there. But a guy like Jake Andrews, another guy that was at the Senior Bowl, that, kind of under the radar, small school guy, graded really well. He's just a natural center position guy, high grades in the run blocking and in the zone grade. Once again, he's a guy that needs to work on his pass blocking as well. But for me, this is a guy who I think would be a really good depth guy. And some people think that he has the upside to possibly start. You play at Troy. The competition is not the best. You're seeing some of the best there. Coastal Carolina, he had an 81.6 grade against them. Louisiana Lafayette, he had an 81.2. Same with Marshall. So it seems like the best teams he played really well. But also you don't know the talent around him on that offensive line at Troy. So Jake Andrews, a depth guy here in the 6th round at 193. I think that's definitely worth it. You have a lot of question marks. Center seems to be a position that we use a ton of, whether it's Roulier getting hurt, Larson got hurt too. Schweitzer had to play at center. He's gone. So you don't have that kind of guy. So maybe this is a guy that can fill in for Wes Schweitzer. We got 2 more picks left. And in round 6, pick 215, I'm going quarterback. A lot of people might hate this, saying, oh, don't waste a pick. I don't think it's wasting a pick. Washington has talked to a lot of quarterbacks. There's only 2 on the roster right now. Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett are the only 2 quarterbacks on the roster right now. I would much rather draft a athletic, high upside, playmaking quarterback in the late rounds, like a 6th and a 7th round pick, than sign a guy like Josh Johnson. Ask the 49ers, would you rather have Josh Johnson last year, or would you rather have a guy like Malik Cunningham out of Louisville last year in that playoff game, who can move around, who can make things happen, who broke Lamar Jackson's records at Louisville, by the way? He had a really bad team last year. He had a good team in 2021, and you saw what he did with a 91.5 grade. But last year, it just wasn't there. He was the offense. He was the running game. He was the passing game. And it wasn't pretty, but the upside of him is there. People know it. It's a terribly kept secret. People love Malik Cunningham. They love what he can do and his potential at the next level. Is he a possible future franchise quarterback? Who knows? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, if Washington goes on some run, and God forbid something happens, Sam Howell gets hurt, something like the 49ers happens, you have a guy who is capable of coming in a playoff game or something and just has this special talent and ability to make things happen when there is nothing there. He had no help last year. I felt so bad for him. But I love Malik Cunningham. He's shifty. He's fast. He's hard to tackle. Like I said, he's just a playmaker. He makes things happen. He's like a little mini clone of Lamar Jackson in a certain, way, how he plays and everything. So I'm a big Malik Cunningham fan. You can take a swing on a guy like him. I think this draft has panned out really well. You got your tackle, your tight end, a corner, an inside corner, really good edge rusher. You have a really good linebacker, an outside corner that has high upside. You have a home run playmaking ability running back in Mitchell. You have a guard who I think could come in and really start day one with Mafi. You have depth in the center position with Andrews. Now you're drafting a quarterback who he might be something. Who knows? At worst, he's going to be a really good depth quarterback that can do some things for you and just make plays happen. So I'm not mad at it. I'm taking him in the 6th round easily. I would have taken DTR out of UCLA too if he was there, but he was already taken like late 5th, which I think will happen too because he's another playmaker. And with the last pick in the 7th round, pick 233, don't sleep on this guy. I told you I was taking another UCLA Bruin, and that is Jake Bobo. I have come onto this guy super late, but I look at the numbers and I'm like, holy smokes, DTR loved this guy, and I see why. The 82.9 receiving grade, a 59.1% contested catch rate, a 79.3 grade versus man coverage because he's just big bodying people. He's 6'4", 206. This is your Cam Sims replacement, guys. Cam Sims is gone. He's on the Raiders. This is your replacement. This is your red zone target here. An 82 grade last year. He had 57 catches for 817 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had an average of 14.3 yards per catch. Like, guys, this is your Cam Sims replacement here. I love it. I have no problem with that. I think it does help having a big body wide receiver who, you know, you kind of saw it in the past with Logan Thomas at tight end, just being that guy in the red zone. John Dotson in the red zone was wild because his release package is crazy. But this is a little bit different. This is like that big body guy, like, hey, I'm throwing a fade. I need you to go up and get this thing. It's kind of like what you've seen with Cam Sims in the past. That catch against the Cowboys, the catch against the Steelers, that ended their streak was like 2 years ago. God, it seems like forever. But this is your Cam Sims replacement. Jake Bobo, I haven't seen enough about him, like talked about, but I think Jake Bobo is a super underrated wide receiver in this draft. So, guys, let's run through it. Like I said, Darnell Wright in the 1st. We've got Sam LaPorta in the 2nd. Jartavius Martin in the 3rd. Another 3rd-round pick, our original 3rd-round pick. We're getting Isaiah McGuire, a guy who can possibly be the pass-rushing edge of the future. Dorian Williams in the 4th round. Love Dorian. Eli Ricks, just a wild card guy in the 4th round that could be something really good, or he could be absolutely nothing. Who knows? Keaton Mitchell, a big time, just burst firecracker, just lightning in a bottle, running back in the 5th round at pick 150. Then we have Antonio Mafi at pick 151 right after that, a guy who will start at guard day 1 for Washington. I guarantee you if we draft him. And then Jake Andrews, depth at the center position. Malik Cunningham, like I said, another playmaking quarterback who at worst will be a really good depth guy. And then rounding it off with some depth at wide receiver with Jake Bobo from UCLA. So let me know what y'all think. I'm loving this draft. You trade back 4 spots. You're still able to get Darnell Wright, a premier tackle in the draft. And then with pick 83, you get Jartavius Martin at corner. At pick 123, you get Eli Ricks, who has high upside at corner. And then you also get 151, which is Antonio Mafi. So think about it. Last year with all the picks that we got, trading back, what that turned into, Martin, Ricks, Mafi. I'm taking those 3, and I'm still getting my tackle. Yeah, it would hurt if Darnell Wright's not there. Maybe they go Anton Harrison at 20. I would take that still all day, put him at left tackle. That's fine. But let me know, guys. This is my official mock draft. Let me hear it. Let's run through it. I will see y'all. I'm going live for the draft, so stay tuned. I'm going to drop some more news with that. And then also that Saturday, I will be at the National Harbor for the draft party. So if you're going, hit me up. Let me know. Appreciate y'all checking out the video. It's here. This is the draft. It is literally here. This is the last draft video I'm doing before Thursday night. So appreciate everyone that's tuned in and this big grind this offseason. It's been a lot of fun. Now we'll catch y'all Thursday night for round 1 of the NFL draft. We're on the clock at pick 16. Let's see what Washington does. I appreciate y'all. Peace.